Hello, this is Karni Zor, and let's talk a bit about astrology. So, 2020 was the most extraordinary year in astrology and in actuality. And as it should be, the ending of this year will also have a very, very unique astrological happening in it, which will really give the final dramatic touch to this very, very dramatic year. So, if you were following the forecasts and the updates, you would know that 2020 had in it, and still has in it, an alignment between Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. And this is a very, very unique conjoinment of planets, which are very slow planets. So their meeting is very rare and has lots of effect upon us. So only if we're looking at Saturn and Pluto, two of these three, every time they have met, and it's a rare occasion that they meet, they only meet every 36, 38 years. Every time they met, history actually changed. The previous times Pluto and Saturn met, and Pluto is the planet of transformation. Saturn is the planet of everything which we see as fixed, organized, institutionalized. It talks about the fundamentals, so it's transformation in every fundamental, and in governments, and in the way things are. And the last times these two planets met were in 1914, the time where World War One began, 1948, which is the birth of the state of Israel where I live, but also, which of course I see as a very meaningful time, but also it was the first time where social care was brought to the world. And in 1983, which is the birth year of Microsoft, the cellular phone, and the internet. Now, if we look at these events, especially 1914, 1983, we will see that what happened back then really changed the whole course of history. And if we're looking at World War One, which led to World War Two, eventually lots of innovations, change in governments, in the way lands look, in their sizes, in their governments, everything changed so much. If we look now at the world and what is created and how we go on with the internet and cellular phones, which is how you see me now recording to you from my own cellular phone, then we will see that what happened when Pluto and Saturn met really had lots of significance to the decades after that. And this is something that started at the beginning of 2020. Pluto, we really see the transformations. Saturn, the stop situation, the world came in. Jupiter, which added to these two in a very unique way, it also joined the rare conjunction between Pluto and Saturn. Jupiter makes everything wide, global, spread out. So we're seeing something which is very, very unique, even more unique than what happened in 1914, 48, and 83. Now, what is the grand finale that these planets are planning for us for this year? So, only before I even say that, I'll say that 2020 had in it the most extraordinary conjunctions and a mixture of the different calendars coming together in a very, very unique way. The holidays and the solstices and equinoxes, everything was so unique this year. We had 2020 begin in between two eclipses, a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, absolutely rare and unique. We had a unique solar eclipse on the solstice, the day of the soul of the sun June 21st, we had a solar eclipse, which is rare and only happens one every 180 years to have the solar eclipse on the summer solstice. Now, what is the grand finale that the planets and universe is planning for us? So on the winter solstice, the December 21st day, which here in the north hemisphere is the shortest day of the year, in the south hemisphere the longest day of the year, there is going to be a perfect alignment conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter. What are we talking about? Saturn and Jupiter are the two opposing planets in the sky. If Saturn represents everything stuck, stubborn, institutionalized, ruled, constructed, Jupiter really represents everything which is open, new, wild, and free. The two are mythological father and son. Saturn was Jupiter's son, and Saturn was a very, very rough ruler with very strict rules, and Jupiter needed to um, restrain his father, imprison him, in order to take the rule out of his hands and create the new order. So we're talking about something old and something new, two opposites really meeting in the skies. Now, this is not a rare conjunction usually, because it happens, Jupiter and Saturn meet in the sky every 18 years or so. But what are we talking about when we say the two planets meet? Naturally, they don't meet. There are 7 billion kilometers between the two. But from what we see here on planet Earth, we can really see these days Jupiter and Saturn very close to one another in the sky, and you can see it after the sun sets. Jupiter is the brightest star now. It will be where the sun was 2 hours before it set, and as it sets, Jupiter will be the brightest star, and Saturn will be to its left or to its east a bit. And if you're following the two, you will see that they're really getting closer to one another. Now, because it's such a large distance, usually when we're talking about two planets conjuncting one another, we will see one beneath the other, and still it counts as a conjunction. This year, the unbelievable happened, something that happens only one in 800 years, and this is that Saturn and Jupiter are going to conjunct exactly at the same point. Not only that, we need the drama. It's 2020, so it is going to happen also on the winter solstice, December 21st, which is a very, very unique energetical time, a time where new knowledge comes to Earth. And this is, of course, also in collaboration with the Jewish calendar, because it happens around Hanukkah, and the Christian calendar, because this is what we'll see in the skies also just a few days later at Christmas and at the beginning of 2021. So this is a very, very big thing. We need to remember that we see Jupiter and Saturn in the skies, but very close to them we don't see, but is there, Pluto, which talks about the unknown and the transformation. And although it's really huge, it's also the culminating point of a year-long process, the 2020 process we are in, which is a time of huge change and transformation in all of the world and in our personal lives, in where we live, and globally. So what to expect? So this is something that marks the end of a process. Many things that we see are actually the end process of something that cooked for a long while before, as pregnancy, as any project that comes to the world. There was so much of planning and preparation before. So this is the birth of something new. And this new thing has to do with the ability to combine between Saturn and Jupiter. Now, Jupiter marks the new things, but nothing new can really happen without Saturn being involved, without some establishment and regulation. And what we felt during 2020 is that there's so much chaos going on with no regulation, with no ground to land on, with nothing really to trust. The combination of Jupiter and Saturn marks both the conflict between the new and the old that is now going on in the world, and the peak of it, naturally, but also a new possibility of really creating something new that will last for a very, very, very long time. So we were in a crucible of change for a whole year. December 21st is the birth time, perhaps, of a new order, of a new kind of world, of new regulations, new standards. Hopefully, the good things, but not hopefully. It is up to us to make it so. So, by every thought you now think, by every act you now do, you actually add to the new birth, to the something new that wants to begin and have its establishment at the very unique time of the coming winter solstice. So we will continue to follow these times, have more insights about it, and see how it enacts in our lives and in the world. Goodbye for now.